Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Hindsight is 2020 Don't Be Left Out Voter Education webinar. I am Pamela Gauthier, a faculty librarian here at GCC. We are beginning promptly at 11 and we'll be recording the webinar. We will close the waiting room at 11:05 for new people entering. There will not be any participant audio, so please use the chat feature for any questions. And I have built in pauses throughout our presentation today in order to be able to answer questions. You must stay until the end for extra credit, which is going to be at 11:30, so it's a 30-minute webinar. And we will be using the Voter Education Research Guide today. So I'm going to be putting that in the chat, and I'm going to stop my video because I'm going to be walking you through the resources that we have for today's webinar. Things that we are going to cover today: how to register if you aren't already registered to vote. If you are already registered, how to check your status and make sure that it is active. How to track your ballot. Finding out what is on your ballot, learning about candidates and issues, and also some fact-checking strategies for how you can determine some of the ads that you see or other things maybe going around social media. What really are the facts? We are using the Voter Education Guide. I go back one more, and I'm going to put that link here in the chat for you so that you can follow along with that if you would like. So first thing I'm going to do is start off with a little poll before we get started here. Okay, so you should have it up. What percentage of eligible voters in Arizona actually voted in 2018? So you have 4 choices there. Okay, we only have a few participants so far, so we'll go ahead and stop the poll at that. End polling. Looks like 2 people thought 43.7%. Let me share the results here. 1 person thought 25.5%, and the correct answer is 43.7%. If we take a look at the guide, down at the bottom, I actually have a link, voter turnout in Arizona in 2018. And this is done through the U of A. It's kind of a dashboard for various issues. And many times you will hear the number of people voting, especially in presidential elections. Those tend to be the highest voter turnout. And you'll hear numbers in the 70s and even 80% for very high voter turnout. And what that means is that's actually the number of people who were already registered to vote and then actually voted. That's not the percentage of all the people who are eligible to vote. So in Arizona in 2018, which was slightly lower because it was a midterm election, only 43.7% of all people who could have possibly registered and voted actually turned out to vote. And why is that important? Because really we're electing people and we are making decisions on issues by only a minority of eligible voters to vote. So who is eligible to vote? In Arizona, you have to be a United States citizen, you have to be a resident of Arizona, and the county has to be listed on your registration, and you must be 18 years of age or older on or before the day of the next general election. So if you are not 18 now, or if you have family members who are not 18 now, but they will be 18 before November, they can still register to vote up until Monday. We'll be talking about important dates coming up in just a few minutes. So with such a low voter turnout, what are some reasons that people do not vote? And you know, we won't get into issues here of voter disenfranchisement or difficulties, but the most common reason given for younger people not voting is not being informed about candidates or issues. So this webinar is put on as part of Maricopa Community College's Democracy Commitment and Civic Engagement Series. So we are committed to, as part of education, your civic education as well, and participating in the process as a citizen. The most important thing is how to register to vote. If you are not registered already, there are 3 different ways that you can register to vote. If you have an Arizona driver's license or a non-operating ID card that's issued by the Motor Vehicle Division, then you can actually go through Service Arizona, which is done through the DMV, and you can register to vote just with that information online without anything else needed. If you do not have those, you can print off a form online or go in and request one from the county recorder. And then once you complete that, you need to mail it to the county recorder's office. And that needs to be mailed by the deadline for voter registration, which is Monday. So it has to be postmarked by Monday. Additionally, at the county recorder's office, you can register in person. Currently, there just aren't as many opportunities for in-person registration. You would have seen people all over campus during a regular election cycle trying to register people to vote in person. And many of the organizations just are not doing that as much right now because of COVID. So if you happen to have a license or ID, the online voter registration is very secure, and it is going to be your quickest and easy way, best way to get registered. So online, you can print it off to mail. So I'll look over here. I don't see any questions yet. Okay. Important dates for the upcoming election. So the most important date that's coming up right now is Monday, and that is the voter registration deadline. Some states do not have a voter registration prior to. You can actually show up the day of voting and do it all at the same time. Other states have automatic voter registration. You turn 18, you are automatically registered to vote. And then many states have voter registration deadlines that are different dates. So if you see anything on social media, you want to make sure that the information directly is related to Arizona. So October 5th is our voter registration deadline. October 7th, they will start mailing out ballots, and we'll talk about how to get on a mail-in ballot system in just a minute. Your last day to request a ballot in the mail is going to be October 23rd, and then October 24th, there's weekend in-person voting available. The last day to mail your ballot back so that it gets there by election day is October 27th. Some states allow as long as it's postmarked by election, but that is not the case in Arizona. In Arizona, it has to be at the polling place. It has to be back to the recorder's office by October 27th, or by election day, excuse me, November 3rd. So these are some very important days. And you may have heard some concerns about mail delay this year, which is why they put the October 27th date. But I'm going to show you, you have some other options. Even if you choose to be on the mail-in ballot, you do have some options for that ballot besides putting it through the mail. If you're in Maricopa County, I highly recommend that you sign up for election reminders. And you can click on this link here. So I'm on the voter education guide, which is in the chat, but I know we've had possibly some people join us, so I'm going to add it to the chat again. And I'm under sign up for election reminders. I am signed up for this service through Maricopa County, and I actually get both text and email because I wanted to make sure that my vote counts. And I actually get a notice from the county recorder when they're preparing my ballot. I get a notice when it has been mailed to me. So if suddenly I don't see it within a couple of days, I know that possibly there's a problem and I need to contact the county recorder to find out what happened to my ballot. I then get a text when I've mailed it back and they've received it, and then I get another alert once it's been counted. Arizona is one of the few states that we've been doing mail-in voting since the early 90s. And we actually have a very high percentage of people who vote by mail. In Maricopa County in 2018, it was over 85% of people already voted by mail or were on the permanent mail-in ballot. And so they've been going through this process and working through any difficulties for many years now. So this has been a very reliable voting system through Maricopa County. As you can see, as of September 21st, we have almost 2,500,000 registered voters just in Maricopa County alone. So they're expecting and they're preparing for quite a large mail-in to occur. Okay. So now, if you have already registered previously, it's always important, if you're not on the alerts already, to check your status and check it in a timely manner. And there are two different ways that you can check your status. One of them is on the Arizona Voter Information Portal, which is through the Secretary of State's office. And here you can confirm your registration is active. You can check your address and party affiliation. You can request a ballot by mail, which you can either do one time, or you can get on what we call PEVL, which is a permanent early voter list. Okay. So three ways to vote by mail, which is recommended at this time for health and safety of our students, faculty, and our community. You can request that your ballot be sent to you in the mail, and you can do that at a one time, or you can also get on the early voting list, and you will receive it every single time from now on that it would end up in the mail. And for more information, click here. So you can go in and request it there and fill out. It must be mailed by October 27, 2020 in order for your vote to count once you have that ballot. In-person options. We actually have more in-person options than many people are aware of. You do not have to wait until the date of the election on November 3rd to go vote. Maricopa County has early voting centers. And so we actually have a tool linked on this guide for you here, where you can click on there and you can put in your address. So there are vote centers and there are drop boxes. So if you want to be, if you want to vote by mail, but you don't really want to put it in the mail and you're unsure of, or you're concerned, you want to make sure it gets back, you can actually look up where there are official drop boxes, or you can take it to an early voting center to vote there as well. And this will be searchable. So in the Where Do I Vote, the searchable feature will pop open. This is going to start in October, these early voting centers. And I will let you know that Glendale Community College is an early voting center in the student union. So you can go drop off your ballot there, and it's still going to, the student union is open at this time for students. And it will be back towards the student life area if you're familiar with the student union. Okay. So just a reminder, if you have any questions as we go, feel free to put them in the box. And I see we have a question here. So once a person gets their ballot in the mail, they can find a drop box and put the ballot in there? Yes, they sure can. And they also, you can also, these early vote centers, if you are not registered to vote by mail, all you have to do is go to an early vote center, produce your ID, and they will print your ballot for you right there. So we used to have people, they had to go to a very specific polling place, and those changed each time. So these early vote centers make it much easier to do that. So when you see a lot of people in line the day of the election, it really makes me sad because they just weren't aware of all of these other options that they have. They didn't need to wait until the last day. They do close out that early voting, I believe, just a couple of days before Election Day. So you can't go to them, 1 or 2 days in advance. So you definitely want to check the information on that. Let's see. So we went through important dates. So checking status. So let me show you what some of these look like for Be Ballot Ready. So how do you check your status? We also have a Be Ballot Ready where you can click in. When we talked about where do I vote tool, this is part of the recorders, and they have all of this information where you can go in and you put in your address and your voter information, and it will give you, it will show up a dashboard like this. So it's beballotready.vote. This is through the Maricopa County Recorder's Office. And I just did a screenshot of it because there was no other way to hide my political affiliation and my address for this webinar. But this is what it looks like. And you can see there's a See Election Calendar, what's on my ballot, and view all the voting locations based on my specific address. And then we also have frequently asked questions as well. So this is a really nice option for finding out more information about voting. And I'm going to go back over to the guide. Here we go. Take you down here, back over to just a brief history very quickly about voting in Arizona. Historically, our college-age students are our lowest voter turnout. And we really need our state to represent everyone. And the more that we have voter participation and people of all age groups voting in high numbers, then we will really truly see a system that reflects the desires and the interests of all Arizonans. So let's go ahead and look at how and where do I vote. Oh, went through there. I'm going to click on Candidates and Issues if you're following along on the guide. What's on my ballot? So we talked about that at the Maricopa County Recorder's Office that you can go to that Be Ballot Ready and sign in. But the Clean Elections Commission was actually a voter-approved initiative where it is nonpartisan information, and you can simply go to Clean Elections, azcleanelections.gov, and you can look at which candidates will be on your ballot, where to vote, your registration status. So I'm going to go ahead and log into this with the address at GCC and show you what this looks like. So here's my dashboard. It's going to tell me where and when to vote. So it gives me all of those important dates again that we have on our voter registration guide. And then early, how do I request an early ballot? Here's all the information here as well. And you can see that there are already some, that they're going to be opening some early voting on October 7th. So these will be open starting October 7th. And then they'll have more as we get closer and closer. They will open more early voting centers. If you do decide to wait till Election Day, you can find vote centers here, and you can see that GCC is going to be one on Election Day. So you want to check back closer to October 7th to see if we're going to be an early vote center. But this is a new vote center model, and this one allows anybody to walk up to any of these locations, show your ID, they'll print out your ballot, and you can vote. What else is on this dashboard? What's on my ballot? So I'm on currently the azcleanelections.gov site. And if you're on the guide, that's on the candidates and issues tab under what's my ballot. So if I had lost anybody along there, I clicked on that and then I put in my address. Well, I put in Glendale Community College address. And then I can click on what's my ballot, and you will see this might get a little confusing. And I'm going to show you what an actual ballot looks like in just a minute. I look through here and I say, okay, I see 3 candidates here for president. But wow, look how many people are running for Senate. But if I look at an actual sample ballot, which this is the sample ballot for my area, and I go down here, I only see 2 names on the ballot for senator. But you'll notice there's a little blank spot here that says write-in candidate. That is what all of this is referring to. So these people have submitted their names to be a write-in candidate, and I mean, some of them have info on here you can click on and learn about them. But the main candidates that will be listed on your ballot, they went through a process of collecting a certain number of signatures from registered voters, which allowed them to get on the primary ballot. And then they won the primary election between either Republican or Democrat. So that is why you'll only see those 2. If there had been a Libertarian candidate or a Green Party candidate, they would show up there as well if they qualified based on those signatures. So when I look at a candidate and I say, well, I want to learn more about this person, I can click on View Info, and if they have a website, if they have a platform, anything. So I'll show you for the various presidential. You can go to Donald Trump's website, Facebook page, Twitter, YouTube. Same thing for the Libertarian candidate, Joe Jorgensen, website, Facebook, social media, and for former Vice President Joe Biden as well. So most of these have this, and it will tell you if they're participating as a clean elections candidate, which means they're only doing publicly funded through clean elections. They're not taking money from PACs. And you may hear various things about PACs, but education associations have them. Lots of different groups have political action committees that help fundraise for candidates. So that's how I can find out information about the candidates that are going to be on my ballot. I can also check my voter registration status here at Arizona Clean Elections, as well as who my current elected officials are. If you don't already know who represents you, this is a good place to go and find that information if you've not voted before. And then specifically on your district, it's going to tell you what legislative district you are and what congressional district that you are. So Glendale Community College happens to be District 20 for LD, it's abbreviated LD 20, and then congressional districts. So this means, yes, to be clear, you can not vote online, but you can register to vote online, and then you either will vote one of those 3 ways by mail, in person at an early vote center, or on election day in person at a voting center. So you do have, you can drop your mail-in ballot off. So you actually have kind of 4 options. Okay, so why is this important to know this? And I'm going to give you a little bit of information on that when we get to political parties and such. Okay, so this is a sample ballot for that. So once I learn what my area is, my legislative district, I might want to learn about the different political parties we have in Arizona. We had 4 official political parties: Democratic, Green, Libertarian, and Republican. The Green Party recently, I think, dropped in membership, so it's not considered an official party in Arizona currently, but we still have information, and there are still candidates that run on the Green Party platform. So if you want to learn about their platform, and platform of a political party is simply what they are learning or what their positions are on various issues. Statewide ballot, we only have 2 ballot measures this time. Proposition 207 would legalize marijuana for recreational purposes, and Proposition 208 would be a tax to fund education. So you can read more from Ballotpedia on those as well. I'm gonna do one other quick poll here. This went by much quicker than I thought it was. Actually, I'm gonna just show you some fact-checking strategies. So one thing that has been going around is talking about needing to have stamps on your ballot. And I've seen this on social media quite a bit, and I'm gonna put up my poll for stamps on ballots here. So you should put extra stamps on your ballot to make sure it's counted as first-class mail. Go ahead and take this and tell me whether you think that is true or false. True or false? We've got 1 person voting, 2 people voting. Got a couple different ones. Okay, so 75% said false. And this really depends on the state that you're in. But let's say that I hear that and I don't know if it's true or not. One of the strategies we teach for fact checking is to look for previous work and to see if official fact checking organizations have already done this work for you. Factcheck.org, Snopes, PolitiFact, and Washington Post Fact Checker are all recommended by the National Association of Media Literacy Educators. They're nonpartisan and they do fact checking. So I'm going to open up one here and I'm going to put stamps on ballots fact check. And I'm going to see if anybody has, well, USA Today, which I know to be a reputable source, says that they will deliver ballots with incorrect postage, but I can go to Snopes here and it talks about adding one onto the ballot, delivering it as first-class mail as misinformation. This is false. And specifically in Arizona, we're one of 17 states that gives you prepaid postage. It has a barcode on it that tracks your ballot, and if you put stamps on top of that barcode, it actually slows down the process. So in Arizona, you do not need any stamps on there. But you can do this type of fact checking with just recently the presidential debate. If I put in Google presidential debate fact check, I can go to PolitiFact, which really focuses on specifically on politics, and I can fact check. They fact check both of the participants. And same for Washington Post Fact Checker and factcheck.org. So those are some of your options for going through and fact checking some of the ads that you hear. Additionally, we have some other resources. If you don't know on your ballot who to vote for school board or other things, I highly recommend reaching out to the faculty associations at your local district. I did this for Peoria, and the faculty association has some candidates that they've endorsed. So I can take the recommendation of teachers. Additionally, I can go on to the Find My Legislator tool, What's My District tool. I can look at Ballotpedia, and OpenSecrets.org will tell me about money that's in politics and what's behind different groups. Lastly, before I have you fill out your name for extra credit, consider being a poll worker. About the majority of poll workers historically are in their 60s and 70s, and many of them are not going to feel comfortable working the polls due to COVID this year. So you can apply. There are some paid positions and there are volunteer positions to be a poll worker through Maricopa County. So I put that link on our guide here as well. I'm going to go back to our last slide here before we close out, and hope that you take these resources and use them. If you are here for extra credit, before you leave today, I'm going to have you put your MEID and your instructor in the chat window here so that we can reach out to your instructor and let them know that you joined us for extra credit. And if you have any other questions that I didn't cover in here, you have two options. You can email me, or you can go on our Ask a Librarian service on any page of our website at GCC. Ask a Librarian will pop up, and you can ask any of the librarians on there, and they can point you to these resources as well. So thank you so much for attending today. And I hope that you will participate in the process and exercise your civic duty to vote.